I wanted to talk today about leading as a data professional. I'll very briefly introduce myself. I already had an introduction, but I'll just briefly talk about that, like who I am and my background. I'll talk about how data professionals ruin their careers. What should you do differently? I'll give some examples and stories from my career and things that I've seen that hopefully will give you some ideas or inspire you. And then we can take some questions if we have time. We should have a few minutes for questions. So basically, that's me. I'm a data executive, 20 years experience, startups, big companies. At Meta, I was the London data engineering site lead. I led the data for a $7 billion business in ads. And in my last role, I was the director of data engineering for all of Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger's trust and safety problems. And today, as an advisor, I help companies succeed with their data and connect data to their business. And I also help data professionals grow in their careers and unblock their careers. In my spare time, I enjoy flying helicopters and airplanes, cooking, and spending time with my beautiful daughters. Why do I talk about leading as a data professional? I mean, with this career, I could have talked about so many different things, right? But the thing that I see people doing, especially data professionals in their careers over and over and over again, is they start their career, they learn their basics, right? So they learn SQL, they learn Python, maybe they learn some statistics, or they learn some data engineering frameworks, they may learn some machine learning models, whatever. And they get to a point that they can actually work as analysts, as data scientists, as data engineers, analytics engineers, whatever it is that they do, and then they get stuck. Okay, so they know the craft, they know how to do the work, and they feel like they cannot grow anymore. Like growth has basically stopped. So they get frustrated. They change companies thinking that it's going to be different elsewhere. It's not. And so they get more frustrated. Also, their companies get frustrated. I mean, in my job as an advisor, I work with a lot of companies who spend millions of dollars on data, and they feel like they just don't get the value. And basically the cycle repeats, and this is a really bad cycle that happens to most data professionals that I see. The other thing that will surprise you is, as you probably know, the market is swamped with people who are looking for jobs. I help many of my clients recruit for and hire for the open roles that they have in their companies, and they're just unable to find good people. They cannot find good people. So what is happening here? Like, why is there such a big gap? I've spent a lot of time thinking about this over the past 20 years. I've grown and coached and mentors data individuals all the way from interns to senior executives in different companies. So this is something that's been on my mind a lot. And I basically think that there's two types of data professionals, and there's also two types of data teams. There's data professionals who are teasing, and there are data professionals who are pleasing. Okay? And I want to explain the difference, but to do that, I want to do a quick exercise. So if you can all just get your calculator apps real quick. We're not going to do crazy math or anything like that. I just want you to be able to sum numbers while still listening to the explanations. So follow along in the next few slides. Zero it up. So start with 0. I'll explain several differences between teasing and pleasing data professionals. And basically, based on the definition that's closer to your situation, just add or subtract the number. If you really don't know, or you think, oh shit, I'm like really borderline, don't add or change anything. Leave it at 0. It's fine. You can keep it in the middle. But try to be, I know it's not black and white, but try to think honestly and be honest about it, which is closer to your situation. Okay, these results are for you. You don't need to share them with anyone. It's just a reality check and sanity check. So let's go. So the role of teasing data professionals is to help the business get value from data by ensuring that the right questions are asked, that the business has the data it needs to operate effectively, that questions are answered accurately, and that critical data is not ignored. Okay? And pleasing data professionals basically blindly build whatever stakeholders ask them for. So people might tell them, can you build me a report that looks like that? Or can you get me this number? And they just do it. Okay, so please add one if you feel like the first definition is closer to how you operate today, and subtract one if you think that the second definition is closer to what you do today. Okay, be honest. Saying no. So teasing data professionals, they're really good at pushing back on stakeholders, and they're good at prioritizing. They know they cannot do everything, and they prioritize. They don't do every single thing they're being asked for, and they're in control over the work. There's a feeling of being in control. Whereas the pleasing data professionals, they don't know how to push back. They don't even feel like they can push back. They cannot say no. They're not in control, and they're usually just overwhelmed by a sheer number of random asks they don't understand, and ad hoc things. So again, add one if you feel like the first definition is closer to your situation, minus one if it's the second one. Okay. Seat at the table. So teasing data professionals have a strong seat at the tables. They're being listened to, and their opinions are sought after and respected. People actually care about what they have to say. So imagine a data scientist or an analyst or a data engineer who is there when critical decisions need to be made, where big strategic shifts need to happen, where a new system is about to come up and we need to design something new. Whereas pleasing data professionals tend not to have a seat at the table, okay? And, sometimes they may be involved ceremonially, but they aren't really listened to. So they would feel like very frustrated that they keep telling things, nobody cares about it, nobody listens to them. A data engineer who keeps saying, oh, you need to log your data in a certain way, and engineers keep doing whatever they want, or a data scientist who keep trying to convince the business to do something, and the business keeps going in a different direction. So again, add one if you identify with the first definition, add minus one if you think your situation is closer to the second one. So when do they actually get involved? So teasing data professionals, they tend to get involved on time before things happen. They're in the loop. They're part of the thinking, the ideation, the design process of things that happen in their company, in their business. If marketing team wants to launch a new campaign, they might talk to the analysts before and start thinking, oh, how should we measure that? We're coming up with this new idea. What do you think? Whereas the pleasing data professionals usually get involved when it's already too late. They get involved when the requirements are just at very final stages. There's very little ability to change or influence the direction of anything. They're just being told, oh, we launched this campaign last week and now we need reports and it needs to be served to the CMO by the end of the day. Cool. So again, plus one, minus one, based on your situation. Perception of value. So with the teasing data professionals, stakeholders understand the importance of the role, understand the importance of data and the data team. They understand why the data team is there. They want to work with the data team. They ask for more support. They ask to grow the team. In some situations, they might even offer to provide budget or headcount to support growing the team out of their own budget, because they understand the importance. It happens. It's real. It can happen. Whereas with the pleasing teams or pleasing data professionals, stakeholders really question the value of the role and why is this team even needed? Why is it there? Like, why do we need all these data scientists? We have too much of them. We can just hire more engineers to build things. We don't need to be so scientific about that, and so on. Plus one, minus one, based on your situation. In terms of product or business understanding, teasing data professionals have very good understanding of the business, of the product. In some cases, they may even understand it better than their stakeholders. It's very common to see a marketing analyst who understands the marketing better than the marketing team, right? Because they're in the data, they're in the business, they really understand. They have a strong business sense. They have a strong sense of the levers and what works, what doesn't work, etc. So it's really common to see those kind of things. Or a data engineer who spent a lot of time, so much time modeling the data, that they really understand the flow of the product better than most software engineers, right? Or better than most architects in their company. Whereas The pleasing data professionals, they tend to have very poor understanding of the business, of the product. They often work on tasks with very little context. They don't understand the importance of those tasks. They just execute because that's what they're being told to do. +1, -1. And I guess the last one is whether they're working on the right things. So teasing data professionals, generally speaking, they work on the right things and they work on things that move the needle. Again, why does it happen? Because they know how to say no, they know how to prioritize, they push back, they have an agenda, they initiate, and so on. Whereas pleasing data professionals, they do a lot of work that doesn't make any difference, doesn't move the needle, and they basically waste a lot of time. So where are you? You don't have to say, but just look at your final score. And this is basically the spectrum. Again, it's not black and white. It's a spectrum. You can be at any point in the middle. But I think that this is some sort of a reality check and to try and understand your situation. But over the past 20 years, as I've said, I've helped grow data professionals, I've led data teams, and I saw that distinction, that difference very clearly. And I think that this is what makes an amazing career. This is what makes an amazing data professional or an amazing data team, right? So why is this important? Because when you please, you make a few assumptions, right? You assume that your stakeholders know what they want. You assume that your stakeholders understand what data exists, what data doesn't exist. They understand the state of data in your company. And you assume that your stakeholders can think creatively enough about how to use data, and they have the right, level of influence and imagination. Whoop! I just stepped on something. Cool. Sorry. The truth is that stakeholders don't know what they want. Okay, we've all seen that. Stakeholders don't know what they want. Okay, you cannot emphasize that enough. Stakeholders don't know what they want. We'll keep going. Stakeholders also don't know the data landscape the way you do. They don't know what data is there, what data is not there, what is reliable, what is not reliable, what can be measured, what cannot be measured. They just don't know these things. And they may not think creatively enough about how to use data the way you do because you're the expert. And they're not. They're expert in other things. They're expert in sales, in marketing, in operations, in support, in engineering. They're not expert in data. You're the expert. And when you please people, when you try to please people, you essentially assume that they know what they're doing. They're not. It's insane. It's like going to the doctor and telling your doctor what treatment you need and what medications. I mean, they have the knowledge in most cases, not you. They've studied for so long. They see patients on a daily basis. They know. And, to just go and tell them this is what I need is ridiculous because they're the experts. And when it comes to data, you're the expert. So why do we let people tell us what to do? It doesn't make sense. So don't make these assumptions. You will miss out. What should you do instead? So there's a few things that you can start doing or you should start doing to change and get closer to a teasing situation rather than pleasing. The first one is you need to add value. Okay, AI chatbots have made it easier than ever to ask the wrong questions and to get the wrong answers. I mean, we see that all the time. People get frustrated with ChatGPT because they ask the wrong question, they get an answer, and they're like, "Oh, that's not helpful." And yeah, of course, it's not helpful. That's the wrong question to ask. Don't be that person, right? Don't be a data professional that gets asked the wrong questions and just blindly responds with whatever they'd been asked. I just cannot stress this enough. Like, you're going to become irrelevant if you do that, because over time chatbots will get better and then people would be able to ask questions. And there are a lot of text to SQL engines, or there's a lot of ChatGPT can create pipelines, can create Python codes. So soon enough, you will become completely irrelevant if you just do what people ask you to do. if you know how to add value, if you know how to ask the right questions, if you know how to push back, if you know how to add value, you will become a sought after and scarce resource. And again, I said that many of my clients are just unable to hire because of that, because a lot of the people they see, a lot of the people they run into are people who frankly just don't add value. They can do work, they don't add value. How do you do that? You need a framework, okay? So whenever people ask you to do something, you need to have a framework. You need to first of all understand what is it that they ask for, okay, which is what many of you do. But then you need to understand, why are they asking for it? What is it that they're trying to achieve? What is making them ask for this thing? Is the company bleeding money right now, or is the onboarding conversion rates going down? Is the CEO going to launch is the company going to launch a new product, and because of that, what is making them need these numbers right now, or need this data right now? And then, will it actually help them achieve their goals? This is where a lot of people stop asking those questions. But is what they're asking for actually going to help them achieve their goals? In many cases, the answer is no, it's not going to help, because I understand what you're trying to do. For that, you need to ask for something completely different. So if not, you need to suggest alternatives. You need to create a dialogue. You need to propose other suggestions, other ideas, other solutions. If it is, then you need to think, is there a simpler way of achieving that goal? I mean, of course they're asking for it, but is there a much simpler way of achieving what they're trying to achieve? And also, is it part of a bigger problem, or a more general ask, and they're just giving me the tip of the iceberg? Right? In many cases, I see data professionals or data teams who basically just do the same task again and again and again and again in different forms and shapes, because it's always part of a much bigger ask, and they just don't. They fail to realize that. And I'll share some examples and some stories like that. So you should never execute blindly on anything. That's the wrong thing to do. The second thing is, you need to find and identify opportunities yourself. Don't just sit in your lane and wait for people to tell you what to do. I mean, that's, again, assuming that they know what they want, but also, I had a manager who used to tell me, I'm not worried about what people ask me for, because they already know. They're too late. That's already too late. I'm more worried about the things they're not asking for, which they should. Right? And that's your job. You need to find these opportunities. You cannot just wait for these opportunities to hit you. You need to go out there and find them. You must be ahead of your stakeholders. How do you do that? You need to be out there. You need to speak with different types of stakeholders in their own language, right? You cannot just talk to them in data jargon and think that they're going to understand what is it that you want. You need to understand how operations people think. What is the role of finance in your company? How do product managers work? What is their job? What does success mean for them, right? You need to understand their day-to-day. You need to spend time with them to understand their job. You need to understand how to work with leadership. That's really important. And a lot of data professionals just don't know how to work with their leaders in their company. You need to learn how to ask the right questions and figure out what the right questions are to ask in those situations, to uncover where the dead bodies are. And you need to have a system for understanding things, right? It's actually it can be a very structured and organized process of collecting information, processing it, and finding opportunities. It's not just a random set of, I'll just go around and bump into situations. You can actively go and find them. And you need to understand your business. You need to understand your business at first principles, actively spend time learning the business, observing how the different stakeholders work. What is it that they do? Interview them, spend time with them, be present in meetings, in conversations, in documents, in threads. you need to be there and to create a a mental model of how your business works. What are the problems? What are the opportunities? What are the levers? How to achieve them? What are the goals? What is the company trying to do? And figure out, are these the right things to do or not? And if not, then help the business and lead. You need to formulate the way the business works and make sure your data represents that. Okay, there's in many companies that I work with, I see a complete disconnect between the things that stakeholders are trying to achieve and their goals and what they want to do to the data that frankly is two separate things, and therefore they cannot actually use their data to drive the business because it's completely disconnected. So you need to, once you have a good business understanding or a good product understanding, you want to try and create that connection. In previous companies, for example, I spent whole days with customer support, sitting with them, listening to calls, understanding what is it that they're doing, listen to customer pain points. These things are gold. I mean, you sit a whole day, an entire day with customer support, you will learn things you will never learn anywhere else. Okay, spend time with operations, spend time with finance, debug issues. Go on customer immersion trips, meet with customers, understand their problems. You will learn so much about your business and your product, and it will give you the ideas you need to become a more relevant data professional. Then you need to simplify. Most businesses don't need more than 10 dashboards. I don't know why people keep building, hundreds of dashboards for their business. And every time somebody is asking for something, they're like, okay, I'm going to build a new dashboard. I'm going to build a completely new data set for this request. The reason it happens is because they don't have a good mental model. They don't understand. They don't have a good framing. And that's why they keep building and building and building and generating data artifacts that don't really add value and don't move the needle and just create more mess instead of organizing the data. So simplifying things, you need to have a good data model that helps you move fast. You need to align on metrics and taxonomy, right? It's very common to see somebody in finance and somebody in sales using the word revenue meaning completely different things, right? How many people actually take them in the room and say, okay, now you fight and let's agree on a single definition of revenue that will be consistent across the company. Or if there's a legit reason, let's call it sales revenue and finance revenue. But at least let's get to a situation that we don't use words that are ambiguous, because this is where your data starts not reflecting the truth, right? And those salespeople, they go on a dashboard, they say, oh, these numbers are wrong. They don't trust the dashboard, they don't trust you, and they don't want to work with data. That's the cycle. So your job is to make your data simple, easy, and accessible for people. And the last thing is focusing on outcomes, right? A lot of data professionals, they think they just do tasks, and they confuse the things that they build, the artifacts that they build, with the outcomes that stakeholders need. They think, okay, if I build a dashboard and my stakeholder is happy, they don't want dashboards. They need insights. They want you to tell them what to do. They want direction. They want to know what opportunities they have, or are they going in the right direction or not. That's what they want, not a dashboard. They don't want you throwing spreadsheets at them or exporting things in a folder. They want to eliminate the need to actually do that. And they don't want experiments. They want to know, okay, these are your three levers, the three levers that you have in your product. These are the only things you need to focus on, and nothing else is important at this stage. So you need to walk the last mile. You cannot just throw data artifacts at people and think that this is what they want and that's your job is done. They get something they don't know what to do with. You think you're done and nobody is happy. So I want to share a few examples or a few real world stories that will hopefully give you some ideas or inspire you or show you different ways of thinking as data professionals. This is one of my favorite stories. This is a friend of mine. She's a data scientist. She was a data scientist at Meta. We started around the same time. And she joined the team that it was a fully blown product team, right? They have engineers, they had product managers, they had designers, researchers. They had the whole thing, it was an entire team building a product, and she joined as a data scientist. And the first question they asked her was, what opportunities do we have for this product? Like, how should we grow this product? Right? They were very confused. They didn't know how should they grow this product. And she spent a lot of time in the beginning trying to figure it out. And at some point she got really frustrated. She was like, am I dumb or something? Because I'm not getting it. Like, I really, I don't know how to answer this question. It should be very simple for a senior data scientist to answer this kind of question. So she spent probably about 9 months doing a very thorough research just to come back and tell them, listen, there are no opportunities. This product should not exist. It's just cannibalizing our revenue. It's not creating enough value. We need to get rid of that product. And that was her answer. And it's an amazing answer for a data professional, and standing on your back feet in front of your entire product team that's frankly really in love with their product. And they just look for opportunities to build new things, and tell them everything you've done is wrong. Let's just kill it and move on and get on with our lives is a difficult thing to do. And she did that. And I think it's an amazing story. And I think this is what every data professional should do. And that's how you add value, not just by telling people what they want to hear. Another example is a product feature framework. There was a data engineer at Meta who was working on a bunch of products in growth, and they realized something interesting, that every time a team was launching a new product, they would ask for a certain dashboard with a bunch of metrics about usage and about growth and about all sorts of different metrics of how this product is actually moving the needle. But sometimes they ask for it in advance. Sometimes they launch the product and then they figure out that they're flying blind, and there's a lot of pressure to build that. And after doing the same task 3 or 4 times, he actually realized that, hey, it's actually part of a bigger or more general ask. And the ask is, every feature we launch, we need to be able to measure on day one. Right? So he said, why do I keep waiting for them to launch new products? And then I need to build a dashboard that frankly looks the same all the time. It's the same thing. It's daily active users, monthly active users, retention, churn, like all of these things. It's always the same things. So he took a step back. He realized that this is what's happening. He created a framework where if they log the data in a specific way, out of the box, they get everything. They get funnels, they get retention, they get growth, they get usage metrics, they get revenue metrics, anything they want out of the box. And he created that, and it was amazing. And it was a game changer for the entire company. So this is the ability to step back and to identify opportunities and not sit in your lane and wait for requirements coming at you. This is another data engineer who was on my team. He joined a product group. He started working on a new product. It was a pretty big product and pretty important product. And he felt like, it's a long story, but the short version is he created a bunch of bugs. As soon as he joined the team, he started experimenting with the product. It didn't work very well, created a bunch of bugs, and the engineers didn't work on them. And he was like, why are you not fixing bugs? I just told you that there's a bunch of things here that are broken. And they couldn't care less. And they said, oh, this part of the product we don't care about. He said, how can you not care about that? That's really important part of your product. So he said there was a lot of weird things about the way this team operates. And he said, it took me about 3 weeks until I started looking at their dashboards, and I saw their top line metric, which was frankly wrong. The metric they were trying to optimize was the wrong one. And because of that, they didn't care about a lot of things in their product that mattered a lot. And they also prioritized the wrong things. And the company also didn't appreciate the importance of this product because it was misaligned with what the rest of the company was trying to do. So he came to them and he said, look, like, your metrics are wrong. This is a data engineer, yeah? He just came and said, look, your metrics are wrong. Spent time with the product manager, with the data scientist, with the engineering manager, and said, this is what you should be measuring instead. It was around the end of May, so it was close to H2 planning the next half. So they actually agreed to change the metrics, and when they announced to the team that the metrics for the next half are going to be a different set of metrics, all of a sudden the entire roadmap shifted because the engineers started thinking, okay, what features can we build that are actually going to move these metrics instead of the old ones? And all of a sudden it got back on track. So don't just assume that things are the way they are because that's how it is. Think critically, ask the questions, to challenge things. This is the value you can add as a data professional, and nobody else is going to add this value. This is something I did many years ago. So I joined a company that built a marketing platform for telcos. And one of the things we used to do is run marketing campaigns. And the way we would do it is we would take their customer base of thinking of O2 or Vodafone or, 3, these kind of companies. You take their entire customer base, split them into segments, and then you offer these segments a bunch of campaigns. And the DBAs used to do it before I joined, before I built the analytics team there. And the DBAs, for a bunch of irrelevant technical reasons, basically told them that they can only split the customer base using one or maybe 2 dimensions, because otherwise it becomes too heavy, too complex, difficult to measure from performance perspective. They did a bunch of things that were wrong, but they just said, okay, you cannot have too many customer segments. And that was very limiting, because taking 10 million, 50 million customers and splitting them according to 1 dimension or 2 dimensions is not granular enough. And it means that you're not offering the right offers, the right campaigns. And because of that, you're not getting the value. You need to be more precise. And the way to be more precise is to divide using more than 1 or 2 dimensions. So when I inherited this problem, and they kept telling me, oh, we have too many customer segments, we have too many segments, I said, okay, how do we turn it around? How do we get from a point that the feedback is you have too many segments to you can have unlimited number of segments up to the number of customers that you have? I don't care. This is not a problem anymore. How do you just eliminate and solve that problem? And I created new methodologies, new ways of working, new systems. And as a result of that, I gave the marketing team a full freedom to do whatever they wanted, right? It's not that whatever they wanted was always the right thing, but I basically removed the limitation. So instead of trying to enforce a limitation, I just said, how do we get rid of that limitation? And that meant that we could just do our thing. So in summary, if we go back, one of the things that really make a difference between good, successful data professionals who can grow forever to data professionals who get stuck very early on with a low ceiling and don't know how to break it is the difference between teasers and pleasers. We talked about what that is. We talked about the fact that stakeholders really, frankly, don't know what they want. And you are the expert. You need to have an expert mindset. You need to respect that. And you need to enforce that dynamic with your stakeholders. You cannot accept a situation where they just come and throw requests at you and you just blindly build what they want. And you need to lead, which means that you add value in the value chain. Again, you don't just do what they ask you. You don't just do work. You actually, every interaction with you adds value. You need to have frameworks to understand the request, to understand the reason behind it, and to be able to ask yourself if that's the right thing to do. You need to find opportunities. You need to understand the business. You need to simplify, and you need to focus on outcomes. And these are the things that if you start doing and if you learn how to do, then you will grow indefinitely. By the way, a few weeks ago, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you may have seen that I launched a free course just to help people unblock their career. And I talk about that. I talk about how to understand the business, how to understand what stakeholders want, how to work with leadership, how to understand the purpose of your work. And these are exactly the things. The reason I did this is because these are the top things that come in every mentoring sessions that I do, and these are the basics. So I just said, okay, let me just get it out there and people can learn. So you get emails and you get exercises to do, and you get some resources to help you with these exercises. If you want, you can try. It's still free for now, and you just sign up. And that's it. Thank you so much. Let's continue the conversation. I'm on YouTube, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to chat.